I have to turn my. How do I do that again? I'm too shifted. I can't find how I turn my video on.
Uh-huh. Whilst you're playing with technology, I'll just name that we've not, as far as I'm aware, heard from Rooted Vulture, Sandra, or Joy. So just to include them in our circle and trusting that they are well wherever they are. But yeah, we've not heard from them. So maybe they will still jump in and maybe they're just running a little late. Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome again. Welcome, all of you. It's good to be with you. We're gonna speak a little bit here today about Earth-centric consciousness. But before we move into talking about it, I want to invite us into a short embodied meditation practice or embodiment practice. And so I'd love to invite you to get up and move for this if that feels good for you. And and as you stand, you might let your human body first of all awaken. You might notice the shoulders and the elbows and the hands and the hips and the knees and the feet of your human structure, of your human body. Kind of awaken into the movement. Stretching or shaking or stretching or, anything you need to do right now is like, hello, body. Staying in this sort of shifted place, this shifted consciousness place, inviting the physical body and your senses of the physical awareness of you to awaken. Yeah. And as you are moving, kind of exploring the ecosystem of this, what it is to be human, I'm going to invite you here to cross a threshold into another kind of consciousness. I'm going to invite you to cross the threshold from human consciousness into the consciousness of another animal. It might be one that you're familiar with, that you live with, that you is in your ecosystem, that you see every day. It might be one that you have a long relationship with. Perhaps there's a feathered one or a furred one or a scaled one that that has you, that you're in deep relationship with. So I'm going to invite you to slip into the body of this one and just begin to move as this creature, in whatever way this creature moves, and begin to explore the space you're in as the world of this creature. Let your creaturely body shapeshift into this other creature and explore the world of this creature through the body of you in the place where you are. How does this one see? Not thinking these things, but exploring, like exploring how this one sees, or how this one hears, or how this one smells, how this one feels, physically senses through touch and kinesthetic awareness, its world, the earth, or the air, or the water. Staying really close to the physical experience of this one. Letting your consciousness slowly be transformed into the consciousness of this one through the physical body. Letting your imagination, your deep imagination, your ecological imagination awaken the world of this one around you as you move through the ecosystem, the imaginal ecosystem of this creature. And really let yourself notice now, as you're moving through it and moving in it and as it, notice the world that you inhabit, the ecological world you inhabit, the jungle or the earth or the water or the air that is your home. And if you get sort of lost, then come back to the sensing in the body as this one. If you start to leave the body or get into the mind, come back into the physical senses of how this one smells or hears or tastes or sees its world. Really letting yourself have this. As fully as you can, as if you are this one, as fully as possible. What do you encounter in this space, in this world in which you live? As this one, this field of relationship, let this web of relationship become visible or feelable to you. What other creatures are you in relationship with in this home place that you inhabit? Notice what it's like to taste or touch or smell or see or feel this other being as the creature you are. Is this one food, predator or prey or beloved, shelter, play? Giving yourself even more fully, if you can, to the being and the being in relationship. And just in the last moment here, finding a way of gratitude or completion with this one that you've been in contact with, this other being, imaginal being. And with this world, this place you've been inhabiting for a brief moment. And returning to the body of this creature, just being very much with the senses and the awareness of your own being. Pulling the attention back in to the physical body. And in a moment here, I'm going to invite you to return to the human creaturely body of you. And as you do, I want to invite you to bring any of these impressions or experiences over the threshold. As your physical body and consciousness return to human, bringing any gifts or experiences or moments with you. And you might begin to look at and touch your human hands, these 5 fingers of each hand. And you might look at and touch the human feet of 5 toes on each foot. And you might take your hands and put them on your face and feel the human lips and the human nose and eyes and ears. You might kind of discover the human shape of you as you return to human shape, human consciousness. Oh, human lips. Human ears, human face. And if you would, in this return, having been changed and shapeshifted and returning, I'd like to invite you now to let a word or a few words, kind of a poetic gesturing towards your experience, arise in your awareness. Maybe it's an image that has words to paint the picture for us, or a phrase, or a couple of emotion words or sense words. And when you find them, then they find you when they arise, then come on back to the camera and we'll create a shared poem here. Someone will know it is theirs to begin, and they will, and then the next one will know theirs is to be spoken next in this shared poem of creatureliness. So if you know it's yours to begin, when you know it's yours to begin, go ahead and we'll gently tenderly drop these pearls of poetry into the basket.
I can go first. I bring a few words, such as, I'm blind, but I can see.
I'm weightless. I feel free.
Full presence in my body.
The sensuality of the water on my skin.
I want to rest in the heaviness of my body.
Fur rubs, and it's a cascade of stardust.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a pearl for us, Wild Ally?
Well, I was going to keep quiet, but since you've invited me, what was coming for me was through my infinitesimal golden eyes, I feel everything.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome, Joy. You've entered a circle of shape-shifted creatures. It's good to have you. Yeah. So this incredible capacity of ours to imaginally journey into the consciousness of another being, right? Like, what a thing. What an incredible blessing we have as humans to shift consciousness in this way and perceive the world through the body, eyes, senses of another creature. Our third element, and I won't talk long, but our third element is earth-centric consciousness, right? And I know that that is not anything new to any of you. And we wouldn't be here together if we didn't each of us know what that is to feel, be, see, experience the world through Earth, through as Earth, and through other ways of consciousness than human. Yeah, so much grief often in that, you know, we come home with these dripping with poetry and gifts and nowhere to bring them. Yeah. So I want to just talk for a moment, kind of contextualizing the earth-centric consciousness within the larger arc of transforming civilization trauma. And I hope to do this in a poetic way that so that you can stay in the yumminess of where you are and don't have to kind of jump up into your mind, right? Please stay in the beautiful heaviness of the body and the beautiful journey that you were just with, and the ways that your consciousness has been deliciously had. This being earth walking or flying or swimming that you just experienced. This embeddedness, right? This inner embeddedness and outer embeddedness of our consciousness and of our bodies in the ecosystem we live in the earth place we live in, and as that we are a part of this place, this house, this concrete, this garden, this street, this weeds growing up through cracks, these trees and flowers, the pigeons and chickadees, barking foxes, laughing humans, weeping humans, fighting humans, lovemaking humans, part of as earth. I do, call the forgetting of that, the collective, cultural, familial, and personal forgetting of that, the original attachment trauma, right? That we forget that we're earth, that we can't feel ourselves as belonging to earth, as belonging to earth community. There's a kind of shock in the animal body of us in modernity that happens. Being born not into an earth-cherishing culture, but into a modernity, power over culture. There's a rupture that our culture does not know how to repair. But it's one of the most important things that we can do, and that we, those of us in this circle, are doing. The ways in which we're in relationship with the wild world, with earth, with our oldest ancestors, the 4 elements. Every day, forgetting and remembering, every time we remember, we are repairing. Every time we greet the tree friend, the maple or the willow or the oak, we greet them as a friend, we are repairing. One question, of course, is how do we bring that into our interactions with humans? Like, yeah, I know how to be in conversation with a tree. Yeah, I know how to go out and sing with the, whoever's. Like, no problem. That's home, right? That's where I'm like me most fully. That's where I'm most alive. That's where I know myself. How do I bring that into the human culture? Yeah. So we say, or some wise people have said, the same consciousness that created the problem cannot create the solution. It's been said in many ways. And I was thinking about that today, and I was kind of listening to what, I was out with my dog and listening to what Earth had to say about that. And I just heard this laughter because Earth was like, you humans, you're the only ones that think in terms of problems and solutions. Like, problems and solutions don't actually even exist. they're part of modernity's consciousness. They're part of the power over consciousness to even think in terms of problems and solutions. Oh yeah, okay. And instead, of course, this kind of revealing of, oh, right, Earth thinks in rupture and repair. Earth thinks in life, death, life cycle. Earth thinks in web of relationship. In seasons, or in dry periods and rainy periods. In starlight and moonlight and sunlight and rain. Weather. Earth thinks in weather. So when we go out and are in relationship in this particular kind of ritual of relationship with the wild ones, right? And we let our consciousness shift into that other cyclical web of the life, death, life cycle. That is, of course, what we can bring back, or what we do bring back into the human world. The more we feel ourselves embedded in the wild, the more we return able to speak for and as Earth. The more we're able to think like an ecosystem or like weather, and see the long arc, the deep time arc of transformation that Earth is up to, that we are currently a part of, that we call the polycrisis or the collapse. So if we look at, with Earth's eyes, with this other perspective, if we are able to meet this culture with those eyes, what might we see? Or smell, or taste, or feel? The heart is an organ of perception. So when we listen from the heart, when we perceive the world through our hearts, the wild world, and then we return speaking from the heart, a different kind of language might move through us. A different kind of consciousness might move through us. And boy, do we need the resources, all the resources we have, inner and outer, to be able to speak those words. My belief is, though, is that those are magical spells. Those words that we bring home that from that way of seeing are magical spells that actually transform consciousness in those that hear them. One of the really, there's a couple of important principles here of how to embody this. One is right relationship with Earth, right? Like responsible, ecologically responsible action. Right relationship with ancestors, human and other than human. Tending the relationship with those who've come before, the wise and well ones who can guide us, who are plugged into deep time. And right relationship with the future ones. the practice of going out into the wild every day, letting our consciousness shift. And cultivating the resources so that when we return, knowing others might see us, like, with snakes for hair, monstrous creatures, knowing the songs of home so that we don't lose our way. Feeding rather than consuming. Our culture consumes. What would it be like to practice feeding? Making offerings and libations, feeding life. Everything from putting compost, your kitchen scraps as compost in a garden, to offering blood or wine or tears to earth. Thinking like an ecosystem, right? So not only from the one perspective, but listening in for what our decisions, how our decisions affect the whole, and how the whole might have opinions about or needs in addition to our own. And moving beyond the conditioned thinking of problems and solutions. Into thinking of rupture and repair and ecotones. Places where two ecosystems meet, which is the most vibrant, alive, rich place. And these are all ways of being earth walking, of shifting consciousness in such a way within ourselves that our very presence might, if we're lucky, and we practice with devotion, we might bring the voice of earth, the perspective of earth, into the human world. Which we all just practiced doing when we gave voice. What if it were as simple as that? Is there anything you want to add, Wild Ally, about earth-centric consciousness before we move to a more conversational sharing?
Thank you, Program Heart. I feel very well fed. I felt like you just slow fed us a very delicious meal. I'm noticing what's alive in me as I receive you, and so maybe I'll just kind of pop this in as a kind of feeding the field before we hear from all of you. It's something around just this kind of, in the same way that we kind of just did this beautiful shape shifting into the consciousness of an other than human being, something around imagining like what would life be like when we think of all of the protective strategies that we've all kind of developed to protect us from feeling the feelings that we've learned to avoid. What would be different? What might be different if we were born into cultures and families and education systems and communities that kind of just from the day we were born really supported us to recognize ourselves as Earth. And what might be different, like how might we show up differently in the world? And there's something about the kind of, okay, we may not have grown up with that, but like imagine if we, you know, are more and more developing that Earth consciousness. Imagine what might shift, and what parts of us might not feel like they need to come online as much, and you know, to what degree would something change? And I'm just left with that question of kind of, you know, this sort of feeling of like, oh, how much of how, you know, my protective strategies come online has to do with this, you know, this embedded sense of not belonging, because we've been torn apart from the true belonging to Earth. And how much of me, if I really, really fully felt that entire innate, inherent belonging to Earth, you know, how many of my protective strategies might just fall away. So I'm kind of left with that inquiry from hearing you, Hologram Heart. Yeah, it feels like that feels like a springboard into a conversation that I am curious what's being stirred amongst all of you and your own journeys with tending this piece, because as Hologram Heart said, we're all on this journey, and there's not some final destination where, you know, we're fully eco awakened and, you know, we've landed. We're all on a journey, and to some degree we've been, you know, we've managed to heal some of that separate sense of separation, and to some degree we've still got a long way to go in terms of the protective strategies that keep coming online to protect the parts of us that feel like we don't belong and we need to protect ourselves. So yeah, I'm curious to hear what's alive in all of you around this, and maybe what threads it tugs when we imagine what's come online for us in relation to Medusa and Athena and Poseidon and the many other characters. And if we imagine those characters as they've shown up in our own psyche through the slightly different lens of Earth belonging. Yeah. So yeah, I would love to hear from all of you. What's alive? How does this tug on the threads you've been exploring around civilization trauma?
I think for me, thank you so much for that, both Wild Ally and Hologram. Like, why is there no silver bullet solution? I'm joking mostly, but it also feels like I feel so, there's so much grief in my heart, right? Like hearing you talk about like what would it be like if we just were born into a world in which you know, we didn't have to build up these protective strategies, right? That we just belonged, and um there's an aching in my heart, in the center of my body, around just around um the disconnection and the harm that like is being caused to the earth, you know. um and this like problem solution framework. I mean, it's just the conditioning is so uh, um, insidious, in the ways in which it shows up. And yeah, I think for me, this idea that this like reminder of going back to the wild every day and living an eco-centric life, you know, is something that I've been, you know, working, I'm a work in progress in, right? Um, And I want so badly to give myself to the earth and to give myself to every earth generating cause. And I think I grieve for the I grieve for the ones who aren't awakened to that yet. You know, I grieve for the ones who are stuck in this cycle of problem solution, you know, and it's around me constantly because I work in a corporation and the big bad, you know, corporation. And I'm just like, I'm, I'm I've been untethering and untwisting myself from it, and that work continues, you know. And how do I be a steward for caring and passing along that message to others, and being a spokesperson for the earth? Maybe, I don't know, I don't want to call it that, but they're just words, you know. How do I model and be and commune and let other people see me with my hair in the form of snakes,
Hmm.
and let that be like the inspiration and the horror, but the curiosity. So that's what's alive for me, is like there's a lot at odds. There's a lot uh paradoxical existence that is me. But I'm in grief and mourning, but also celebration and yearning and desire and deepening, and bearing and surrendering. So yeah, I think I'll stop talking now. But thank you.
Mm. Hmm.
I can certainly relate to what Indigo mentioned, and what alive is in me at the moment, or throughout this journey, at least mostly, this emotion, this strong emotion, and seeing the world around me not from that lens of ignorance, but more of this soul-centric, ecocentric way. And there's a lot of pain. There is a lot of pain, and I feel that pain to see the humans that are stuck and are using those protective strategies, and how they need them to survive. And I can't help but also wonder what the world would be, what our lives would be if we didn't have to. And I think that's our seventh generation experience. We can only dream about it, active dreaming, perhaps some creative endeavors like poetry to write what we have now, how we work towards creating that world for that seventh, 10th generation, if we ever reach that. And I also feel like over the last couple of weeks, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. I'm surprised myself. I feel like I'm going in the journey, which consists a lot of seeds, and sometimes those seeds are almost like theoretical seeds. You get like this little snippet of information, and it doesn't quite make sense. It's there, but it doesn't quite make sense. And over the last few weeks, it started making a lot of sense. A lot of things in my life that I experienced, that I see, that I do, uh, were were introspected, and I started seeing a whole bunch of other beautiful things out of it. So I feel like I've learned a lot, and really appreciate it. I feel like I'm very privileged to be in this circle, to be able to talk about this, because I can't imagine any other place where I could feel so included, so understood, and be on the same journey that reflects my inner values, my core desires. I feel very privileged to be here. Thank you.
So I can continue if you can hear me properly. I'm not sure how the mic is. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot to encounter the potency of this conversation without, I think, arriving with you all into space, and also to do so in an airport is yeah, I'm feeling the lack of ground, I think, for that. But yeah, there's a lot alive in me from what I heard and felt. And I think there's something that really wants to be named about yeah, like this anger I feel around the injustice of so many humans not being in a position of being able to speak at this scale, I think, to have this conversation right now. Yeah, because of so many different injustices. Yeah, war, displacement, violence. And I think there's something that comes up for me in that around this deep longing I have to be one that is very much of the wild, but also this trouble of, like, I think one being doing that in isolation and observing how also my own protective strategies are also there then in the way that I relate, kind of background. Yeah, my own conditioned tendencies and protective strategies being there, and how I relate as one with the wild, and also as one with the various powers and access to resources that I have, and how I think it's also important to name this dynamic of an ambassador. That's the word that came to me of on this speaking for the earth, right? It's like especially as one whose ancestors have been so disconnected for so long, like I want to have like the utmost humility and be like, there are many who are much better positioned to be ambassadors than I. Those who are like much more connected right now, who come from those cultures. So yeah, I think there is this thread of injustice and power that I think wants to be named for me. Yeah, and I'm really curious and also hopeful, you know, of like also how is it to do this and also fall in love again with being human and like with humans. You know, like I think that's possible. I don't think it has to be an either or, and I think every time I can kind of grasp that, I'm so pleasantly surprised. So always, and I can let go of how I think it has to look or how I think it has to be to be a wild one. So yeah, that's what's in me.
I can speak. What's alive in me is belonging with the earth feels easier for me than belonging with humans. And what's also resonating in me is from a couple of wanders I did. And the one was like the offering of food to ancestors, which felt lovely and awkward. And then the ask I got at the end was to walk home barefoot. So then I walked home barefoot from the park, which made me go a totally different way. And it was lovely until I got to like the streets where I'm in front of all the houses. And then I felt the awkwardness of being this person carrying a wicker basket walking barefoot down the street. So yeah, so again, that like relationship with the humans. And then I did the wander where finding a place that reflected my core wounding and my core gift. And I was biking yesterday and I was like, I feel like I should go to this one place in the park that I was near to, but I hadn't been to for a while. And it's got the cobblestones in a circle in the middle of the park, in the middle of the pathway. And I love cobblestones. And then when I went there yesterday, someone had done chalk on various ones, so it like accentuated color and shape. It was very pretty. But yeah, it was interesting. I ended up finding a place that was a park. So there's trees and nature, but it was also a man-made or human-made structure that I really feels like art to me and sort of a reminder to pause. And I also struggle with the paved overness of things. And I guess the ways I've masked in my life. And that's a place that's paved over, but in this beautiful, sacred feeling way. So that's what's, I'm liking those like wanders because they stick in my mind and kind of with clarity. And then I sat down at that spot where like I thought about not, but then I sat down and I discovered the stones were warm, which I wouldn't have realized if I'd never sat down. Like things like that feel like they matter in some way. That's what's alive in me.
What is alive in me is how I need to have those kind of spaces where I can speak about this and we can relate to this theme. And everyone is on the process, and it's just something we know we are all swimming in. And I need to be with people with this consciousness, sometimes. Then I can get in the other world where I'm not with those kind of people. You know, when I'm looking like Medusa for them, and or the very depressed one, or so many things they will project on me. And so yeah, this is what is with me a lot, how much I need spaces and places where I can relate to this a lot. And how much it was an inspiration those last weeks. I really enjoy what was shared in this space. And also I could already bring, so I think a lot of it moved in me, but like this morning at my work, I'm facilitating a group and two women are starting to fight since a few weeks. And I came with one of them, we had a chat, just the two of us, about what is happening. And I came exactly with this. This is the culture we are in. Can we try to find another way? And I don't know what it can look like, but maybe we can find a way. And it was beautiful, the process we were in. And she's a very traumatized woman with mental health issues and, you know, very strong protective reaction. So we all have it, a lot of them, but with those kind of people, it's even like seen as pathological or something like this. So it went even further, you know, in the disruption process for them. So it's even a greater work to how can we bound together again, be in a relationship. And it was such an amazing moment. And, you know, having this true relationship and speaking from her and having no idea how we will do this actually, and just laughing about it. And at the end of the chat, she was really willing to find a way, you know, how we will do this together. And it's beautiful. And I've got no idea what is gonna happen, but it was a moment where we came from rupture, like I hate the other one and she's problem. And I've been hurt so much, like maybe we can find a way to relate because we are all swimming in this mess right now. And yeah, so thank you for the inspiration. Yeah, and thank you to all of you for the sharing this theme. Really need it, actually. Thank you.
This week I've been thinking about the sacred wand, and the biggest protective strategy that I have is to be quiet and to stay quiet. And until this morning, I was struggling with the question, what can I do? How can I act in the world? And now I'm thinking about my protective strategy, and maybe my gift for the world is just to listen to. And maybe I haven't to do anything. Maybe I just have to be. And I was thinking about what you said last week, how you can transform the world and the way people react when you are just open heart and don't react. Yes, I'm with it now. Maybe my gift for the world is just to listen to and to hold the space to other people to open their heart. Thank you.
How to fall in love with humans. Just happened, right? Happens every week. Here's how to fall in love with humans. Yeah. Yeah.
So true. It's almost like when we started this group and we talked at the very beginning around how, you know, the kind of primary intention here is to create the conditions that support relational culture, and we don't know what relational culture will look like. It's not about there being an end goal. It's about the splashing around together and being willing to be vulnerable. And it's almost like we've just kind of revealed, haven't we, here, of like, oh yeah, and it's in the being willing to be vulnerable and to really shine as our authentic selves with all of it, that we fall back in love with each other. It's like we're so much more easy to love when we come through in our truth, you know, and not the idea of what we have to be, who we have to be loved. It's kind of a bit of a tragic comedy, isn't it? This being human in these times. Yeah. Beautiful.
I want to say a thing here about healthy shame and toxic shame, just very briefly, because you know, there's this thing I was hearing, and I totally get, about kind of, you know, this sort of being ashamed to be human or carrying shame. Those are my words for it, but it was making me think of this healthy shame and toxic shame. So healthy shame is I did a thing that is against my values, and I feel really bad about that. I betrayed my own ethics and values, and, you know, the way I want to be in the world. Healthy shame, really important for feedback loops of recognizing like what's important to us and how we want to be in the world. Toxic shame, I'm bad, right? I'm bad, full stop. And so just like, oh, this falling in love with each other and building relational culture is like giving ourselves the break, like healing the toxic shame that we can carry, and as particular people, unique people, and as collective humans, right? And letting us have the resources together to say like, oh, it's some really bad behavior. Like I really regret and have shame for, you know, ways I've behaved that are not in alignment with my values. But I'm not bad. We humans are not bad, right? Look what beauty is possible. Look what beauty is possible when we open our hearts, when we risk relational culture, relationship with self, relationship with other humans, relationship with other than humans, the wild ones, and relationship with the more than human, the ancestors and spirits and guides and allies. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Wild ally, I agree. Why don't you say that thing that you just wrote in the chat to me?
There's some behind the scenes planning going on, just so you know, just be transparent. So we are just about at the time now where we should take a break, have a breather, stretch those bodies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a list of kind of inquiry questions that are going to be way too much for you to be able to respond to in the time we have left. Like, they're probably going to be inquiry questions that you'll take with you in for the rest of your life, maybe. But we're just going to seed them now so that you can kind of just take them in, have 10 minutes now, and you can meet any bio needs you have, and just let these questions have their way with you. And notice if your mind gets involved and like wants to try and answer them all or pick the best one or work it out, and bless your mind for that, and just notice which of the questions, which of the inquiries really land in you like an arrow into your heart, a love infused arrow. And we'll have just a few minutes each to go round after our 10-minute break, And you'll have been infused by these inquiries, and you'll just have a few minutes each just to share whatever is left that wants to be shared to feed this cauldron as we move towards a closing, as a harvesting, a gathering of these numinous threads that have been working their way through us. So I'll just share those now.
And
Give
we
me-
will email them to you in the
Yes.
email tomorrow, so you do not need to even write them all down.
You do not.
Just be with the one that grabs you right now.
Yeah. Hope that works. Whoops. This has disappeared now, of course. Oh, dearie me. Eek. Okay, so then they will appear in the chat any second now.
There you go.
So we will resume at 5 minutes past the
Can you all
hour.
see them, or did Wild Ally only see? Yeah, I
Ah,
think
I
Just
sent them
only
to
sent
you.
them to me. So send
Hey.
them again to everybody. They're gorgeous. You're gonna love them.
Hopefully, have they now arrived with all of you? Excellent. So we will see you at 5 minutes past the hour, and to hear some final words from all of you. Yeah. See you then.
Away with you. For me, it's what I spoke to a bit already about sacred wounds, and there felt like a gift yesterday. I did some reflecting on my core wounding and did sort of a journey while I was also typing it, and then it felt like one of my core wounds is my mom wasn't a reliable emotional support. She would get overwhelmed in her own trauma and collapse. And so one of my memories is her being overwhelmed and me feeling abandoned and afraid, but not having support. So in this journey, I felt like I was present with that little version of me, and I hugged her and held her, and we were in that falling, scary, abandoned, like ground falling out beneath you place together. And I'm also with the fact that like my mom's hugs have never felt safe to me. But like walking on the earth feels like a safe hug, and hugging that internal, that small sense of myself, or young sense of myself, that felt like we both felt at a safe hug. So that feels like a big gift. And I'm going to continue to explore how that cobblestone place reflects how I can be an offer in the world. So I'm currently grappling with that. So thank you for being on this journey with me, for all the stories and the explorations and being human with me. Yeah.
Let's just take a moment to really take in who's here, those beautiful, tender, courageous hearts we've just heard share such beauty, such exquisite, unique beauty. Just allowing your heart and your whole being to receive these other fine companions, co-conspirators in the courageous. Just a remembering that we're not alone in this journey that can feel very lonely, that at the very least, here we are, all tending similar threads, all finding our inherent belonging as Earth. So we find ourselves really stepping very, very close to that threshold that lured us in at the beginning, that kind of lured us in and took us on this exquisite journey together. And before we each, as our personal and collective self, kind of step back across that threshold, whatever that threshold might mean for you, myself and Hologram Heart will just say a few words just to find our way towards that threshold. And I think what I'm most with is just my heart just feels so blown open. And I love that we've kind of landed, in this time together today, this kind of thread around, just revealing, who we are in the simplicity and truth of that is how we fall back in love with humans, which can feel so difficult. It can feel so difficult in the times we're living in. So I just want to thank you all for your part in helping each one of us to fall back in love with humans. And just, yeah, it's just been such a privilege. I feel so honored to have been alongside you all on this journey, and the fact that all of you found a yes to come and put aside your precious time into this particular journey that is a very particular journey. It's not the most popular of topics. And you found the parts of you that care so deeply about this world, that you're willing to lean into the discomfort of having this particular conversation, and this thread has been kind of tugged on in various ways in our session today and in other sessions, of just how privileged we are to be able to be part of this particular conversation. And my hunch is that those of us that show up for this particular conversation are ones that know both power and privilege and difficulty and struggling and trauma, and we are bridge builders. And those of us that are called into this particular flavor tend to be ones that have a lot of gifts to share as allies. So I just want to thank you all for your particular flavor of being a world ally in the world, and what it is that you are bringing through your tender courage. And my heart has been so touched by each and every one of you. And yeah, thank you for showing up and giving your time. And I really, really hope that we will be together in a similar container again soon. That would really make my heart glow even more. Yeah. So I'll hand over to Hologram Heart as we get even closer to that threshold crossing.
It's true. I don't have very much to add. I was just sitting listening to you all. I'm sorry I didn't remember to press record early enough. I kind of failed on the recording today, or not failed, but I just wasn't quite with it. I missed the whole beginning part, unfortunately, with the drum and your closing counsel, except for the last one. So apologies for that. But I was just sitting here feeling into like, wow, the seed of this gathering was born when I told the story of Medusa last year. And I told the story, and then I was working on the video to put up on the recording to put up on YouTube. And I just had this feeling of like, there's something, Medusa is wanting something. Like there's something here that is longing to be tended and explored and shared. And so I'm so grateful. Firstly, of course, to Wild Ally, who is monstrous in the right way, like I'm monstrous in the right way, to even think of holding this kind of opening this kind of space and holding this kind of space to invite all of you gorgeous monsters in, and to each of you for to echo Wild Ally for saying yes to the invitation to dance in this place of blessing and curse and to so fearlessly be willing to see through the eyes of all of the parts of this story of Medusa and Athena and Poseidon and Perseus and all of them, the sisters and all of them, right? That you really let yourself be dreamed and feel fully this journey together with us. So thank you for your trust and for your willingness and for your beautiful, tender, wounded, strong, alive, gorgeous hearts, and your snake consciousness and your stone consciousness. Yeah, this world needs this of each of us. This is the kind of world I want to live in. This one that we are creating together. Yeah. Okay. It's time. So if you're welcome to stand if you like. You don't have to. But I would like to invite you back there where we already are, where we still are, where we've been for 5 weeks, onto the island of Medusa and her sisters. The place where all this started, where all of this is still happening, where we have been and will continue to live this story into the world. This island, this place of water and sun and stone and snake and monster and beauty and song and heartbreak and death and birth and transformation. And in this place where we are, I invite you now to gather up all the threads in your bundle, your cap of invisibility and your winged shoes for journeying and your sword of Hephaestus and your shield, your mirror shield of Athena, gathering up all the threads and gifts, all the beauty and heartbreak and grief and power and gift that the gods and goddesses have given you, that Medusa has given you, that your very soul has given you, that earth has given you. Gather all of it up, because it is yours. Because the world needs you to embody what you have received, because this bundle belongs to you. And when you are ready, when your bundle has been gathered, and when it is time, in the deep time, in the time of now, in the time of ancient past, and unfurling future, when it is time, returning from the island of Medusa, back, returning forward and back and upside down and inside out to this moment right here, this threshold of right here and right now. Holding this bundle in your arms, this precious bundle of gifts and wounds and love and beauty and grief and all the other things that are within this bundle. And when you're ready, the threshold appears before you. The threshold that is this boat we've been sharing, this way we've been sharing, this basket of community that we have woven together. When you are ready, step out and over the threshold. saying yes to bringing this bundle back into your life, everything you've learned and received. Yes to who you are, being seen as who you are with all of your gifts, just as you are. Earth walking, earth weeping, earth laughing, human. Beautiful, beautiful human. Inviting you back into the world of humans as Medusa Earth creature. Okay, for the last time, we're going to do the thing we do at the end, which is put our mics on and make a joyful noise of blessing and gratitude, and make it good and loud so that these songs of blessing, these Medusa screech song, grief, beauty, love songs, will be heard and echo in all of our ears, our heart ears, forever. Forever. Yeah. So much love. Thank you. Go well.
Thank you.
Go
Love you
well.
all.
Love,
Much
love,
love.
love.
See
Go
you another
well.
Ciao, ciao,
time.
ciao, ciao, ciao.
Oh.
Why?
Bye. So much love. Thank you.
Much
Bye.
love.
Take care.
Kua. Diana Kua.